I don't know what I'm more confused by. That the Psycho Brigade somehow has its own Queen Lord, or that it apparently has its own line of hats. Go back to that last picture, you'll see the guy on the far right is wearing a Psycho Brigade's hat. Apparently they have their own clothing line in the future. Either way, we're starting to journey across the Midwest, and we're going to grab all of these power-ups. I don't know why they give you more than one radar in a bunch of these levels, but they do. If you want to start off, there are mines on the other side of this fence. So what you can do, if you want, is just wait here until one of the Psycho Brigade tanks comes over, and they'll run into these mines. Well, I mean, they're inmates and convicts, so they're not going to be too smart. As for this area, there are a fair amount of turrets going all the way up the road. So I'm not going to go down the middle of the road very much, also because there are mines right there. But I'm going to take my time and try and take the turrets out mostly from a distance. There are a few instances where they're like embedded more into a side street, and for those instances I'll pretty much be right on top of them. For now though, let's get around these mines. Now there's an extra tank that we can get which is really, really close by, but we have to take a very roundabout kind of path to get to it. So we're not going to get that just yet. Also, before we can get to the fortress, I almost ran over a mine. Oh crap. There's also a bunker we have to take care of, which is right here. And we definitely wanted to do that so that we could get the guided missiles, because since we're going after a fortress this time, there's going to be a Goliath tank to worry about. It's pretty standard fare in this game to have fortresses that are guarded by mainly a Goliath tank, and then a bunch of other separate tank units milling around it. For now though, I'm going to continue slowly taking out some of these turrets, and I don't know if you can see it very well on the video, but they are just coming into view at the edge of where the fog ends. Oh, and this is one thing that can kind of suck too. I took out one of those tanks, but the body of the tank I destroyed was shielding the other tank, so my swarmer initially didn't hit it. Kind of a waste. Oh well, let's blow up a gas station. Kind of impressive that we can blow up gas stations, considering in a dystopian future you would think that people would buy up all the gas. Whatever, I guess they still explode anyway. Now this side street in particular can do one of two things. If we follow it north, it'll take us almost alongside the fortress, which we don't particularly want, because in addition to a Goliath, there's a turret on either side of it, so we'll be double screwed. So instead, I'm going to follow this path down here, doing a little slalom work through some of these trees, even though you can just run them over, and that'll take us all the way back to this point with the extra tank. Now, as we make our way back, I'm going to go ahead and head north. Not too far north, though, because I wanted to take down that bunker. Also, there are a number of turrets in this area. So, if you're not particularly high on health, I would not recommend going in here and taking out some of these turrets. Some of them would have trouble seeing you from the street view anyway. So coming back here is one of the only instances where most of them would be able to hit you. I cannot emphasize enough how annoying it can be trying to hit these mines with grenades sometimes. Technically, I don't have to do this, because I already have the guided missiles from the previous bunker that I destroyed. But it's always nice to have a bit of a backup in case something goes wrong. Because the Goliath here is going to be a bit harder to hit. There's going to be some parked cars in the way, there's a gate in the way. It'll require a bit of negotiation. In the meantime, though, I'm going to cross to the opposite side and continue taking down this gas station for some bonus points. And I'm also going to clear out most of this area for power-ups. Which means we get to hear more of that lovely power-up sound effect. Power-up. Now, there are also buildings next to the Goliath tank that you can take down, too. Although you might not want to blow those up for a reason that I'll get to later. You'll see why. For now, though, I'm going to... There's a lot of stuff in the way. Past the turret, past the turret. Okay, past the truck, through here. Bam. I wasn't kidding when I said there's a lot of stuff in the way. In fact, I should probably get to a better vantage point before I try firing off any more seeker missiles. Or at the very least, taking out that turret. Although now there's a tank after me. So I'm going to continue getting power-ups from here. And... this might be my least favorite thing about the game, is just trying to get past these minefields with grenades. On some level, I'm probably making it more difficult than it should be. But this is like the only thing that I use grenades for, so whatever. Actually, okay, the tank is still out in the street, and we got an extra tank. That's the main reason that I was clearing this area out. Okay, from the sound of it, there's still an active turret within range of me. However, I'm going to situate myself over here. Okay, once these two turrets are gone, alright. We should be in good shape now. We get an angle here and fire off a seeker. Well, at least the gate's out of the way now. I still have 3 more. And I only need to hit it one more time. Bam, there it is. Now let's go ahead and move in. And before I take out those buildings, I'm going to very carefully move in along the sides and take out these turrets. Awesome. Now, in order to claim the Queen Lord, you just have to blow up the front of the fortress, and then we'll see the Queen Lord. It's kind of weird that we're blowing up the building to somehow claim a person inside of it, who miraculously survives in cube form. This is why you might not want to blow up the buildings, is that turrets are hiding inside half of them. But for now, let's cause this building to collapse into a fiery heap. And inside, we will claim our first Queen Lord.
Queen Lord rescued.
If nothing else, she's better off with us than with the army of insane asylum patients and convicts. Oh, 3 bonus tanks from that one. Nice. Now, I believe after this comes the... Yep. We're now in the greater Chicago area. We somehow have our own fortress now, as well as our own Goliath tank, which is going to defend the fortress. We have a bunch of AI units as well. And now we're going to try and go after another Queen Lord belonging to the Psycho Brigade. very important to immediately go to the left and get at least most of these power-ups. At the very least, get the radar. Our AI teammates are going to try and push forward and fight alongside us, or at the very least in a different sector from us. They're not very smart though, and they're also pretty fragile. So later on in the level, we're probably going to encounter some burnt, blasted remains from some of our allies. For now, I am moving in along the left side so I can get some more of these power-ups and take out some of these turrets. As you can see, the fortress that we're going to go to is south, and it's along a beachfront. We're not going to go there just yet, though. Although I do have the guided missiles that I'll need, because if there's a fortress, there's a Goliath tank. And it looks like there's a fair amount of enemy units moving in. I'm going to have to take a bit of a detour to the side so that I can get through this wall. And I'm going to start moving along the edge of the map. Although along the way, if there are any enemy units, I'm of course going to take them out. Just because my AI units are not very smart, and they're technically not necessary for the completion of this mission, doesn't mean that I don't want to have them around. Okay, I'm actually going after the fortress first, so I'm going to situate myself back here, out of the line of sight of the Goliath tank. And a 1. And a 2. And missed the tank. 3. There we go. Trying to throw me off, are you? So that's the Goliath tank down. Now I'm just gonna do a little cleanup work with this fortress. You can blow up some of the kiosks and stands that are alongside the beachfront, and most of them will have items in them of some sort. In fact, I think I'm going to do that, although for viewership's sake, I'm going to speed this part up. Except for the part where I go back and destroy this enemy bunker that I almost missed. Now I can end the mission by just blowing up the building, grabbing the Queen Lord, and heading back to the front of my fortress. However, there's a whole other section of the map that I haven't explored yet, so I'm going to go back and see what I'm missing. And in particular, there's this, a fortified bunker. We can't destroy this with our regular weapons. And the reason that's there is part of the reason that I haven't picked up the Queen Lord yet. When you do pick up the Queen Lord, it causes a bunch of... oh, fallen brethren. It causes a bunch of enemy units to spawn, because they're going to frantically try to rescue their Queen Lord from us, and take it back to, well, what remains of their fortress. Getting back to the matter at hand, there isn't a whole lot else along this beachfront, although you can go over here and blow up some of these turrets. They're mainly rocket turrets, and you can also blow up some of the kiosks, and hey, guess what? I got an extra tank. Like I really needed it at this point. Anyway, let's go ahead and blow up some of these mines, even though there aren't a whole lot of items in here that I actually need. There are guided missiles here, so if you haven't blown up the Goliath tank in front of the fortress yet, you can go back and get them here. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of reason to do that. There's also not a whole lot of reason to do this, because there were turrets stationed alongside the street, although most of them are really out of the way and you won't actually encounter them at all. Anyway, once I'm done with these turrets, why don't we go back to the matter at hand and go ahead and get the Queen Lord out of that fortress and then bring it back to our fortress so that we can complete the mission. And we gotta go all the way back here to be able to do it. And once we get this fortress open, there are also going to be some bonus points waiting for us. How nice of them. Although, now that we have to get this home to the fortress, there's going to be some opposition along the way. Thankfully not as much, because we took care of those enemy bunkers that we could destroy. However, you're still going to see that our Goliath tank is under attack by some enemy units. See how they're coming out of that fortified bunker I couldn't destroy? Yep. Oh, well, hello. This is not a particularly difficult part. You would have to go really, really out of the way to put yourself in any sort of notable danger of failing this part. And once we drive up and pretty much run into the front of our fortress, that completes the mission. So we don't have Madison yet, but we do have a Queen Lord. Well, technically two now because of that last mission. And our army continues to grow. Our army, by the way, is just called Griffin's Army, but next time, we're going to save some more Queen Lords.